Hello and welcome to the first ever How to Sell Your Book Quickly, Making More Money with Less Hassle and Fewer Headaches. And I'm here today with Vicky Fraser. Vicky Fraser is a friend and a customer of ours who's just recently completed her first book, Business for Superheroes. So, hello Vicky.
Hi Bill.
How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for taking the time today and talking us through the bits and bobs about your book and basically why you wrote it and how successful it's been. So, just to let people out there know, could you just give us a little overview about yourself, what you do, and bits and bobs like that, please?
Sure. Thanks for having me today. I'm Vicky Fraser. I'm a copywriter and entrepreneur, I guess, and marketing kind of consultant. And I write copy for private clients, so sales letters, anything really, anything that people want writing. But I also run a mastermind group for small business owners and freelancers to help them grow their business, because I remember what it was like a few years ago when I first started, and you end up taking any job that comes along and it's soul destroying, and you kind of lurch from month to month with far too much month left at the end of your money every time, and it's stressful, and you end up with crap clients, and it's just no way to run a business, because you might as well just have a crap job if that's the way you're going to be. And so I wanted to share what I've done to break out of that, basically break out of the scraping by from month to month and into the realms of six figures a year and beyond, because it's just the last few months for me have been just fabulous. And so that's what I do, and I help other people to do the same.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I kind of want to discuss really more in depth later on is how kind of, if you like, transforming yourself and the business can really obviously help by using a book as kind of one of the main lead magnets. This is what I keep trying to tell people is, it's not the be all and end all, but it certainly helps you kind of pushing yourself out there and kind of giving you that extra kind of authenticity and credibility, doesn't it, using the actual book?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, what I was doing before was really cool, and I'd started the process before I wrote the book. But since I've written the book, it's things have just taken off, and it's been fantastic. Quite apart from the fact that it's really cool to be able to say, you know what, I've written a book. It's also, it's transformed the way I'm doing business and the way I'm bringing new clients into my inner circle, and also my bringing new private clients in as well. It's opened a lot of doors.
Perfect, perfect. So what we're going to talk about today is basically just the process, first of all, of writing the book, because there's a lot of people out there that are kind of 80% done, keep saying they're definitely going to do it by a certain date and never do. They are saying, yeah, it's not really top of the agenda, and I can understand that. I'm not saying, you have to drop everything. But what the key thing for me personally is start the actual marketing process probably 6 to 8 weeks before releasing the book. Do you agree?
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, definitely.
Because the
Yeah.
key thing is if you've got a date, say for example, you're telling everybody, your book's going to be, especially now we're in September, so your book's going to be out by Christmas, and it may not be written completely yet. You might have got it not actually had it proofread correctly or whatever. But the point is, if once you've set a deadline and then start marketing it, start telling people actually about it rather than just dump it in people's faces once it's done, it gets a much better response from your kind of potential clients and existing clients.
Absolutely, and it also means that you get the thing done as well. Because what I did, I think probably my biggest piece of advice for anybody wanting to write a book is make yourself accountable somehow. Because if you're, like you said, if you kind of say, oh, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to have it done at some point, and I did this, by the way, for 3 years. I was like, yes, I'm ready to write a book,
Yeah.
and it took me that long. And I'm a member of a mastermind group, same group that Bill's in actually. It's how we met. And I, at the last meeting, had said, or the meeting earlier this year, had said, right, I'm going to have my book written and printed and in my hand by the time of the next meeting,
And she did.
which was 3 months, by the way, which I did. And I don't think I actually had the thing in my hand at the meeting, because I think it was actually being delivered to me when I was at the
Yes,
meeting.
yes, it was actually.
But yeah, but yeah, that's what I did. So I gave myself my 3 month deadline, and I just wrote the thing. But more than that, like Bill said, I started selling it before it was written. So about a month before I'd finished it, I started putting it up for pre-order. And once people have paid you money, you kind of have to deliver, because they get cross if you don't. So that's two things that I did to make myself accountable. The first thing was to tell a group of people who I respect and who will mock me mercilessly if I don't get it done. That was the first thing to say, I'm going to have this book done in 3 months. End of story. It's going to be done one way or another. And the second thing that I did was to sell it before it was ready, because and give a deadline. Say to people it's going to be delivered in the first couple of weeks of July, and once they've paid you money, you have to then deliver, or you have to give them your money back, which sucks. So that's probably my biggest piece of advice, is to make yourself accountable.
Absolutely. And some people might be on this now thinking, oh, well, it's great for Vicky. She's a copywriter by trade. Writing's easy for her. But I don't know if people picked up on that. Vicky's original idea was some 3 years ago. So, even the best copywriters, and Vicky is an exceptional copywriter who has said earlier, has gone from kind of not the bottom barrels, but you're now, you're certainly up there because you've elevated yourself within your certain area of market, really, haven't you, in your niche market. So, even the best copywriters take time to get their book done. But once, as Vicky clearly said then, is once she's actually set a deadline, as in she's taking money off people, or she say it's going to be out, you'll be amazed what people can do. So if we can go back to the start, I mean, that we'll end up kind of where we just spoke about. If we can go back to the start and kind of from a layman's point of view, because most people who know me know this as well, simple things, etc. But I find it terribly hard to write, as you know as well. I can talk for England as well. The actual writing process, and to kind of get your thoughts onto paper, if you like, or metaphorical paper nowadays. But could you just start kind of giving people the ideas of how you kind of laid the book out? And again, I know myself from you as well, you kind of went back and forth a little bit on it, but just start the process really from where you started.
Okay. Cool. Right, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. Yeah. So the first thing I will say is, don't try and write a book, because that is a terrifying thing to undertake, even if you're a writer. Think of it more as a series of small chunks of writing to do. So what I did, and I'm very aware that, yes, I'm a writer, I do this every day, and so it's probably going to come a bit more naturally to me than to somebody who isn't a writer. But you don't have to be an amazing writer to write a book. You don't have to be Dickens. You don't have to be Dan Kennedy. You just have to have a decent idea that you think people will find valuable. Well, if hopefully that people will find valuable, and then you need to structure it. It's all about the structure. So, as I say, don't try and write a whole book, because that's a massive undertaking. And even I think that's partly why I took so long to get started, because I thought, I've got to write this book, and it's just a huge thing, and that's the most difficult part, is getting started. So what I did was I decided, first of all, who I was going to write for.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. So my ideal customer, and for me it was very easy, because I was writing for me, because this is where I was a few years ago. I was just starting a business, struggling to get things going, and wanting to grow, basically, wanting to stop hating it, wanting to stop hating my clients, hating myself, and hating what I was doing. So that's where I started. And then I thought, well, what have I done? What do I want to convey? And so I had my idea, which was, how to grow your business from struggling along to 6 figures. And I wrote down, I think it was 10 or 11 main topics, and they would form my chapters. So there was, just opening my book now to have a look. So there was the introduction, which is relatively easy. So for my introduction, I decided I was going to tell them who the book was for, who it was not for, a little bit of background, how to best use the book, and that's a series of little headings then that I can write around.
Yeah.
My chapter 1 was start with why. So why are you doing this? Why are you running your business? That kind of thing. So there was several points within each chapter. My chapter 2 was all about marketing. Chapter 3 was getting stuff done. Yeah. Within those different chapters, I wrote down a series of bullet points for the main subtopics that I wanted to cover. Yeah. And once you've written a few paragraphs about those, suddenly you've got a whole chapter, and it comes very, very quickly then.
Sure.
So yeah, I would say don't try and set out to write a chapter even.
No.
Don't even set out to write a page. Set out to write your outline. Decide what you want to say, and then decide what you want to say within that main topic, and then write down some bullet points for each of your subtopics as well. And that way your book will almost write itself.
So little sound bites, really. So just think, say, main topic, but then exactly as you said, little bullet points to kind of just to get the mind going a little bit. Once you've kind of sat there and thought, okay, boom, 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 I'm going to talk about marketing, for example, and then kind of 5 little bullet points about that, and then obviously you'll just naturally expand from them kind of bullet points.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's by far the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, because
And if you've got existing content already, I mean, if you've been writing lots of emails or sales letters or brochures or blogs or whatever, then you might find that you've got an awful lot of content already.
yeah,
So you don't need to write it all from scratch.
no, absolutely not, absolutely not. And that's a really good point to be made. And again, from people who may think, well, I'm not the best salesperson or marketing isn't my thing, and etc. Most people write emails every single day. Regarding their services or whatever it may well be, or you have an old sales brochure, like I always say, the old sales brochure is something to kind of take something from, and really is kind of forming the first part of a book, if you like.
Yeah.
And so, and you're fantastic at this as well. It's taken me a long, long time to understand as well. And when you're actually writing, especially from salespeople like me, it's very hard to kind of make it personal, as if you're writing to the person or you're speaking to the person. And it's
Yeah.
something that I've learned a lot over the last 18 months or so, being in the same mastermind group as yourself, as well. If you're more personal with writing, and you're kind of, you're kind of stating people's fears as well, and bits like that, it kind of really helps as well, doesn't it, when you're kind of, if you like, talking to the person in the book.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely is. That's a really good point. So I would say write write a pen picture of the person that this book is for. So who they are, like Bill said, who they are, what they care about, what they're worried about, what their biggest what their biggest hopes and fears are, the things that you hope to address in this book. And then I know a couple of people who do this. I don't do this, but I know that it helps a couple of people. Draw a picture of them or find a picture of somebody who could represent your ideal customer, stick it on your computer and imagine that you're talking to them.
Mm.
Because the key thing about this is you want to imagine that you're writing to one person here. You're not writing to an audience, you're not writing to a group of people, because hopefully you're going to shift more than one copy of your book, obviously, but when the people reading your book are reading them, they're reading them on their own. They're not sitting in a group and kind of reading it in a group. They're on their own, an individual, so you need to make sure that you're talking to that one single individual.
Yes.
And it needs to be conversational and personal. So two things that I will outline a little bit that I think are very important is, first of all, to put your personality into it. I found that a lot of people, especially business people, will sit down and they'll think, I need to write now, I am writing, and they start writing in a kind of academic, businessy, corporate, jargony, nonsense kind of way, and it's what I call zombie marketing, because they kind of turn into this awful, boring person. And you're not an awful, boring person. You're an interesting person with a personality and a life and experience behind you. So put that into your book. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to kind of be personal and what some people would term unprofessional. Unprofessional is giving your customers a rubbish service. It's not being yourself. If you are yourself and you put your personality into it, and you're giving your all and making it a real thing, you'll get far more response from people than if you're just another corporate drone.
Absolutely.
And that is an absolute fact.
I'm a big advocate of this because, as I said previously, for myself, I find it hard to write. But with that, I would do exactly what Vicky said with everyone else. I try and talk the way I don't normally talk, if you like, when I'm writing stuff. I'm being somebody I'm not myself when writing, and it came across, with emails or sales brochures or whatever. They'd always go down the pan. You kind of spend all this time writing a document or whatever it may well be, send it out to your top 100 clients or whatever, or potential clients, and you just get absolutely bugger all back. But once I've started, and it's only recent for me, I'm not pretending that I've kind of been doing this for a long, long time, but once I've started to add my personality in and kind of who I am and my the type of person I am, the type of people we deal with, it's working tremendously well because people do respond to who you are. They might not agree with everything you say or do or whatever, but at least you're kind of being who you are. And that does come across within sales, going back to sales, but it does come across with sales. You make more sales when you be yourself.
You do, and it's really important as well to kind of polarize people a little bit, because if you don't stand for something, then you stand for nothing, basically, and you just become this beige person. And I think it was Dan Kennedy who said, if you're not pissing at least one person off by lunchtime every day, then you're not doing much of anything at all. And I think that's really true. You need to stand for something. You need to be seen to care about something, I think. And if you're always trying to not offend people.
Yeah.
If you're going around trying to please everybody, you're not going to please anybody.
Yeah.
So that's another reason to really, really be yourself.
Absolutely.
And not be afraid to put your personality into stuff.
Absolutely. And what this means to people is you don't have to go out there and be a sweary Mary or be and be somebody you're not either, which is quite key, isn't it? Rather than go from one extreme to another, you have to be what you're comfortable doing, who you are, etc., etc. And many people, different things work for different people, but the ones that work tremendously well are people who are being themselves, and that's something really key, I think, to take from this. And this will represent within the book as well. If you're being yourself and your ideas, your thoughts, etc., within the book, they're the ones, trust me, that if you like, sell the most, as in sell the most services thereafter. Because going back to the book itself, it's not going to make you a millionaire, as in the actual book itself, or anything like that. But the book is the start of that process, isn't it, Vicky? To kind of get new leads in, produce different, get people's kind of. What's the word I'm looking for, really? You're kind of starting the process with somebody, because, book still is a very personal thing. And that's why you wrote the book, I suppose, was it to kind of get the new leads in and kind of elevate yourself in your field?
Yeah, I wrote it for a couple of reasons. Yeah, so to establish myself as an expert in my field, because that's I'll pick up on something that Bill just said, actually. You said that, you have to be yourself and put your spin on things, and that's a really good point, because I think a lot of people worry when they start to write a book, I've got nothing new to say. You know what, that's fine. There's nothing in my book that's a brand new groundbreaking idea. It's my spin on marketing ideas that have worked for many years. So there's the unique thing about my book is that it's me, and it's written in my voice and my personality. The ideas in it they're not my ideas, and I don't claim that they're my ideas. It's all about building a relationship with people and introducing them to your way of doing things, because yes, you can, you'll have your potential customers who could go to, a dozen other people to get what you do, but they can't get you, and that's the point. That's what your book does. It establishes a relationship with people who want to work with you as a person, rather than just with a faceless corporation that does what you do. And that's partly why I wrote my book. I also wrote it to establish myself as an authority and an expert in my area, because a book is a great thing to do that, because, rightly or wrongly, people look at your name on a book cover and think, oh, that's really impressive. And, in a lot of ways it is really impressive, because writing a book is no small undertaking. But it's like the ultimate business card, I like to think of it as. It opens doors, it just gives you an in to work with people in a slightly different way. It starts a relationship. It allows them to find out all about you without you having to put in the same kind of time and effort that you would if you weren't just giving them this book to read.
No, absolutely. And again, both myself and Vicky and other people that have been successful with doing their books, you can't overemphasize that point, really, is to really kind of use the book as your ultimate tool. And, and what we're going to start talking about now more, Vicky, is the process of, if you like, selling the book in inverted brackets to your client base, because again, this is where a lot of people struggle, and this is why I've come up with our idea of the Elite Publishing Academy, which basically gets people's books out there, but we kind of started to do the whole process for them, basically. Oh, excuse me. So with that, your book itself. Sorry about the dodgy. The dodgy image there, but Vicky herself, is a marketeer herself, so she obviously knows the process of what to do. But what Vicky has done, and this is where I kind of say to people, is Vicky's cover myself is a real standout cover. She's produced. Well, she hasn't produced it herself, have you, Vicky? You've got someone else to kind of do it for you. And did you just talk through the ideas behind that?
Sure. Yeah. I'm absolutely not an artist in any way, shape, or form. So I went to, actually, somebody approached me, somebody that has been an acquaintance of mine for quite a long time approached me. And that's a little marketing lesson in itself, by the way. Always approach people. If you want something, ask for it.
Yeah.
So she came along and said, would I like her to design my book cover? And I said, oh, yes, I would. And I kind of told her what I wanted in terms of the avatar, the superhero figure, which, by the way, is amazing. It looks just like me. It's really cool. Yeah. So I told her that I wanted kind of a superhero cover. I told her what the book was about. I told her, I gave her the title and the kind of strapline and what I wanted on it, and then just left her to it, and that's what she came up with. I think the only thing that I got her to add was, because the original one came back a little bit plain, the only thing that I got her to add was the cool skyline in the background.
Okay.
So it was a really easy process for me. I told her more or less what I wanted. It was quite a woolly brief, but I told her more or less what I wanted, and that's what she came up with. And it's just, I told her that I wanted it to stand out and look really cool, and it does. It's great. It doesn't look like any other business book that I've seen.
No.
So I'm really delighted with that.
And the key thing here for people is whether you use our services or somebody else's services is, unless you are a designer yourself, then get somebody who is to do it for you. Because listen, it's not an end all of it. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean just because Vicky's got a cool cover there, she's going to sell her services and her books 10 times over. It doesn't. It all comes back down to the marketing side of things. But again, the overall image and perception that people will get from this is it's a well-designed cover. And when we'll show you later how to get a kind of free download for Vicky's book as well. But the whole layout and everything of the actual book is very professional. Now, again, some people kind of miss the fact of that, is that it's just the little touches that, again, the overall package of whatever you're trying to sell, whether it's marketing services, coaching courses, webinars, seminars, whatever, widgets, even products, you use books for products as well. It's the overall picture of you. It's the perception of your company, yourself, and so on and so forth. So the key factor here is, it's the bigger picture. The thought process has to go in from the start of where you want this book to go to. And again, we're going to touch this with Vicky in a minute, but Vicky's whole kind of concept here, from the cover onwards, is this whole kind of system in a way, isn't it, Vicky, of where you want the book to lead on to. Starting with the actual cover. I know it sounds silly that just a cover does that, but it's true, isn't it? You get the cover sorted and it kind of gives you that whole kind of marketing spin and image that you want to go with.
Yeah, because up until you've got the cover, you've just got this, mass of words, and yes, they're going to be great words and people are going to want to read them, but you need something to hang that off, and the cover is the thing to do that. It's the cover is your headline, really. It's it's got a headline on it, but it's the thing that's going to make people sit up and take notice, and it's what you can build your adverts on, and all your branding, really. Because branding it is important. There's a lot of nonsense spoken about it, but it has its place and it's important, and it's very easy to do with a really good cover, and it does need to be professional as well. Bill said, get someone, if you're not a designer, get someone to do it. Absolutely. If I'd done this, it would have looked like it had been put together by a drunken monkey, and that's not the image that I want to give off. And it's the same with getting it laid out and set out as well. Really check all the copy, check the layout and everything, because little mistakes can look really sloppy, and it can be really frustrating that you put all this time and effort into this amazing book, and then to have the finish be a little bit off. Is a real waste. So it's worth putting that time in, and getting a professional to look it over is well worth it.
Yeah. And so this is where we're going to go now with the conversation. Is once a book's ready, you've had a few hints and tips there from Vicky on kind of what she believes is the right kind of tactics to get the book ready. Once you've got the actual cover ready, this is where I believe, again, the 6 to 8 week process before the book's really done, is then to start marketing the book. Now, Vicky herself is a marketer herself. She runs her own marketing company, as I said, and stuff like that. So for Vicky, yes, it's probably a bit easier than others, but with the kind of packages that we're offering as well, this is the process that we're kind of doing. And again, the reason I wanted Vicky on is A, she's very successful at what she does, and B, she's been through this process very recently. The book was released July time, I think, Vicky, wasn't it? June, July? I can't remember.
Yeah, July, yeah.
Yeah. So, for Vicky, this is still new, and she's using the book in some amazing ways that she's going to talk through in a minute. And the process is the same for anybody, if I'm honest with you. So once the cover's done, you can then, as Vicky says, the actual kind of image branding, etc., starts to become. So basically, I've just taken a couple of snapshots, Vicky, from the Business for Superheroes landing page, which, again, we're not going to go too deep into landing pages or anything like that at the moment, but what I'm trying to teach people here really and get them to understand is the whole process. So for you, once a book's done, if you can start going through the process of how you personally, because I want other people's input rather than just mine all the time, how your thoughts were, right, I'm going to use this book for what? So if you can kind of literally, I know it's a little bit kind of quick speed, but from A to Z basically, you've got the book, but your bigger picture is to what, if, for example, your mastermind group or whatever. But if you can just tell people your kind of process, really.
Absolutely, no problem. So the idea behind my book is my ultimate aim for this book is to get people into my monthly mastermind program. And the route that I've taken to do that is I've got my book, I've got my branding images, as you can see on the screen at the moment. And the first thing I did was to create some adverts. So Facebook and LinkedIn is what I'm using at the moment. I'm going to start looking at AdWords as well, but it's basically pay-per-click I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about social media marketing and just kind of going, oh, can you like and share this? Because that is by and large a waste of time.
Yeah.
But pay-per-click ads, you can target them and all the rest of it. So I've got an advert, which people will see and hopefully go, ooh, that looks interesting, and then click on. When they click on the advert, it takes them to a landing page, much like the one that you can see at the moment. Actually, it's a slightly different one because I've given away a free chapter.
Yeah.
And that is my lead magnet. So my advert will say, it'll have the headline and, are you a freelancer fed up with business or whatever? Click here for a free chapter of my book, Business for Superheroes.
Yeah.
At which point they get taken to a landing page with a load of copy about, why they should be signing up for this free chapter.
Yeah.
They give me their email address and their name. In return, I send them a link to my book, and then they get put into an autoresponder series, and they will get a series of 12 emails, each one of which will have a valuable marketing tip in it, and will also coincidentally be a summary of the chapters. So email 1 will be a summary of chapter 1, email 2 a summary of chapter 2, and so on. At the end of each email, I sell the full book. So I'm hoping that at some point people will click on the buy my book now link. They will go through to buy the physical copy of the book. I will send it to them. They will read it. They will love it. And they will then join my inner circle, which is the idea. But the whole thing is the book is just a tool to hang off the follow-up, because follow-up is the key. You need to keep on at people. So once they've got the free chapter, I'll keep on at them to buy the book. Once they've got the book, I keep on at them to then join the inner circle. One of the ways I do that, by the way, is to put them into a free club where they get a free print newsletter every month as well. Yeah. And so far, I've been doing it for a week, and I've already got 4 new members for my mastermind group. So it's a very small set of numbers at the moment, but it's looking really marvellous, and I'm really pleased with it.
But again, put that into perspective for people is by using the book and the free chapter, the lead magnet as we call it, yourself now, there's 4 additional people there paying you X amount of money per month, because at the start of the process was this kind of download chapter of a book, and the book will be either sent to them or etc. So from that process, you've already got 4 new clients from that.
That's a $5,000 a year pay rise just from that, basically. So that's paid many times over for the outlays.
Exactly. So again, that's a brilliant thing to say to people. That's £5,000 extra in Vicky's back pocket, basically, for doing this. Plus all the other additional revenue that she's generated from the book and other stuff. But if you just take that one snapshot there, so £5,000 generated because Vicky has written the book. There's a landing page there for if you set up pay-per-click services. There's a landing page, a lead magnet, which is a free chapter, and then a follow-up sequence. And from that follow-up sequence, she's made £5,000. So,
and that's just in a week.
As I keep saying to everyone on the emails, it's a no-brainer, and it really is. And it's educating people to I think it's confidence for people and the belief that they can do this. A lot of people don't think this is going to happen to them. I think personally, just by writing a book, like you said, who's going to want to read my book? You're not selling this to become the #1 best author on Amazon.
No.
So if you want to do that, then that's fine, but we're probably not for them. But we're here to kind of get people to use their books as a lead generator, a lead magnet that goes on to bigger things. We're not here to sell on other big products at all. We're here as book printers and publishers is to get people to understand that the book still is such a powerful tool and weapon, isn't it, in your armory for marketing? And that will
it is, and
other things.
It is a tool. Yeah, I mean, it's very nice to have. I mean, I'm so proud of the fact that I've written a book. I'm really chuffed, and it's great to see people go, "Oh my God, you've written a book!" But really, all that's just vanity, and it's kind of irrelevant. What it actually is a tool to help me grow my business.
Yeah.
And it's doing a sterling job of that.
Yeah. And again, just to let people know, Vicky has, as far as I'm aware, kind of two websites you have at the moment, because
Yeah.
you've got the vickyfraser.com and the businessforsuperheroes.com, haven't you? So,
Yeah.
and that's basically that you divided that up now. Purely Business for Superheroes is led by the book more, isn't it, rather than vickyfraser.com? Am I right in saying?
Yeah, so Business for Superheroes is all about the book. That's the book brand. That's
Yeah.
getting people to buy the book and to come into my little free club, which will then lead into my um, paid for monthly mastermind. And the vickyfraser.com is more, I don't really, to be honest, it's a bit more, it's just there because the private client side of my business really ought to have its own website, and it's there for data capture as well, and getting people's email addresses and getting them into email sequences and that kind of thing. But the one that I'm really concentrating on at the moment is the book website.
Yeah, yeah. And again, just emphasise a point of why you're concentrating on more the book at the moment than anything else. Why have you switched that, for example?
Okay, that's a good question. So I, at the moment, have my books are full for private clients because there's only so much time that you can swap for money,
Yeah,
and everybody will run out at some point. You can keep putting your prices up, but eventually you're going to keep hitting the same wall. I have as many private clients that I want to work with at the moment. I don't want to work with anybody else. They're bringing me in a nice tidy income, but it's not scalable. The reason that I'm working on my book lead generation is because it's totally scalable. If I can get people into my inner circle, into my mastermind group, then I create all the content once, but I sell it as many times as I could. My aim is to get hundreds of people in it eventually. That would be amazing because I basically do the work once, but I sell it many times over.
yeah.
That's the holy grail of kind of, I don't want to call it passive income because it's not passive income. There's a lot of work and effort that goes into it, but it's scalable.
Absolutely. And people always think, and in your honest head, there's a lot of people on here that aren't, if you like, marketeers or anything like that. So it's all right for you and I to kind of bang on about this and say, oh, it's going to, but I'm going to say this, but I truly believe it doesn't matter what industry you're in, using the book in this kind of way, print the book, lead magnet, download, emails, etc. This can work for any business, right?
Yeah, absolutely, any business. It doesn't matter what you might not want to produce a content. We call it continuity, where it's a month by month membership.
Sorry.
So you might not want to produce a continuity program, and that's fine. You might want your book to be more of a, like I said, the ultimate business card. Because if you're even if you're a plumber or a builder, how much more impressive is it to
Yeah.
have a book as a business card than just another grubby business card to give to somebody? It's like, actually, I've written the book on this.
Yeah.
Here's my book, and you can give it away for free.
Yeah, and like I said before, it doesn't. Again, the emphasis is it doesn't have to be war and peace. It's a case of it could be how-to guides. It could be anything really, can't it? Of anything. It can be,
Yeah.
10 reasons why, or 47 reasons of this, or again, it doesn't have. It's just, again, the process is really you're using your book to elevate yourself and your business in your field, and as
Yeah.
people are going to respond to that is the
Yeah.
key. So it doesn't have to be this big book, this 400-page document. It could be,
No.
most of the books I write are like 100 pages because it is more of a hints and tips guide more than anything.
Yeah.
And that's what works well for me. Each year I
Yeah.
roughly get rid of, I say get rid of, that sounds wrong, doesn't it? But then, between 700 to 800 copies of my book that I release a book once a year, which is more of a hints and tips guide. And that's great. That's leads coming into my business generated from that kind of book.
Yeah.
And people out there we love information, don't we? So,
We do.
and if you're,
And we love books.
yeah, we do love books.
We do love books.
and that's kind of what Vicky's saying is obviously she switched kind of the marketing from her business to the book side, so she can, like she said, kind of emulate the process and get more and more people into her service, which is like an inner circle, like she said. But it doesn't have to be inner circles or stuff like that, does it, Vicky? It can be other stuff that people can, you're selling on services, whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, here's a good example actually, because I'm going to be in this position myself in the next few months. My husband and I are looking for a house to renovate, and finding professionals that you can trust to do a job like that. And I don't know who's going to be listening to this, but it applies to absolutely anything. I'm going to use builders as an example because they're an easy target. But builders have this reputation for just being a bit sloppy and a bit shoddy, and it's undeserved for a lot of them, but there are a lot of bad ones out there. So I mean, if I was to come across somebody who said, I've got this book and it's the 15 things you absolutely have to know before you spend any money on a builder, then I'm gonna buy that book because I'm looking for a builder. And if that then tells me all the things to watch out for, all the things that the dodgy builders will do, then I'm going to be like, oh my goodness, that's it. This is really, it's valuable information for me. It's given me a whole bunch of valuable stuff to look out for, and it's not giving away too much because I can't do the building myself. I'm not a builder,
No.
but I am looking for somebody who's professional. If they then keep following up with me and sending me useful information and building a relationship with me, I'm going to start to trust them, and they're the ones that I'm going to go with in the end. Even if they have a waiting list of 6 months, I'm going to wait for them.
Rather because,
yeah, God, yeah. I mean, if I'm spending, if you're spending multiples of tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds on having a house renovated or having a house built, you're not going to go for the cheapest.
No.
And you're going to wait if somebody's got a long waiting list, then you know that they're going to be good at what they do and that they're going to be worth waiting for.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole point of this process and reason why I got Vicky on here today really more than anything was to kind of just give people a different voice rather than mine all the time, to really kind of overemphasize it all. And if you can just talk kind of numbers now, because again people talk about number of books to sell and this, that and the other. When Vicky first went to press, I think it was like on a Monday or Tuesday, I can't quite remember now, she ordered 100 copies, which we always kind of recommend for people, because you don't know how well or what you're going to be doing to start off. And so Vicky printed 100 books on the Monday, Tuesday, and on the Wednesday, Thursday, you wanted another 100, didn't you?
Yeah, that was so exciting.
Well, how? Basically, how did that happen then?
Okay, I had a bit of a head start because I've got an email list already of loyal subscribers. I've got about 1,000 people on my email list who read my daily ramblings every day, and I'd been pushing my book quite heavily, and so I think I pre-sold about 70 odd of them, and I hadn't really expected it to do that much better than that initially. But as soon as the book came out and I said, the book's actually here it is, and I kind of put a picture of myself up with holding my book with my big smiley face, and suddenly another 50 odd people asked for a copy. So I needed an extra box full, and I'm getting through those. I've kind of got a trickle of I sell a trickle of them now because as I say, I've moved towards the free chapter, but they're trickling through nicely.
Yeah. And just to let people know, how much did you sell your book for?
Okay, so I had an early bird offer. People could pre-order it for £12.97, but the full price is £19.97, which seems like a lot for a book because most books are not priced that way. And this is a whole other topic in itself. But you can sell your book for whatever you want. You don't
absolutely,
whatever you like.
Because again, the value of content within, and this is I say this all the time, but people always want to try and sell their book cheap for some reason. And I always go back, from just a printing point of view, we deal with a lot of STM people, so scientific, technical, medical people. Now, their book is no bigger. It's not made with gold leaf or anything. It's a standard 200-page book, for example. But they will sell their books for £150 up to about £400. And the reason for that is the value of content within. They know the students and the people that need that book are willing to pay for that book because they understand the value of content that's within the book. So, okay, let's not talk silly numbers, but you don't have to sell your book if you are going to sell it on a commercial side. You don't have to sell your book for your classic $7.99 or $9.99. It's the value of content within, and your client base. Obviously, there is a limit, I understand, but there's no reason why you can't sell a paperback book for £20, £30, £50 even. Some of our clients have sold it, I think, for classic, the old classic £47 because, what's within that book is key sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna keep putting my prices up until I find the point where it stops selling because you kind of have to keep pushing. But yeah, like Bill said, it's what's inside it. If people took if people read my book and followed it to the letter and adapted it for their own business, then it could be worth £100,000 to them.
Yeah,
it's the value of the information inside it that's So in the face of that, I'm asking you for £20, but it could make you £100,000. It's suddenly it starts to look very cheap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that is a lesson learned for people there as well. I mean, I'm not a marketeer like Vicky is at all. I'm here to produce books and get them published and market them for them, obviously. So I know that area. I'm not I'm not in the realms of Vicky and people like that who can kind of sort businesses out, but the actual, the book itself is such a great way, and it's brilliant that Vicky's taken time today to kind of talk to everyone about this, because it is an invaluable resource, a book, and never underestimate the value you can have for your client base. Like Vicky says there, this could be worth, if they read it through and follow it again, the old classic, actioned and followed through. This could be worth six figures to people, and it will be, won't it, Vicky? To some that join your inner circle and so on. Your business services that you sell on otherwise. You go in there, help businesses out, market them, etc. Sort it all out for them, and this puts bottom line on it, doesn't it? Really, and it all stems, by the way, is obviously Vicky's making money from it. Also, her client base are making money from it in the first, long term, because they bothered to get a free chapter or a copy of the book. I know it sounds silly, and I'm kind of trying to spin it around to the book. But if they hadn't taken action by getting the free download or actually purchasing the book for $19.95 or whatever, they wouldn't be in a better position that they are now by knowing Vicky.
Exactly, yeah. And I've had some really lovely, I mean, it's always nice to get compliments on your book, but I've had some genuinely lovely messages from people who have said, you've inspired me to stop messing around at this and start doing it properly, and just telling your story to people can inspire them to do great things. And that for me is, the money's really nice. Of course I'm doing it for the money, but it's just really lovely to get messages from people who have said, I've read your book and it's changed my life. And that was quite a profound and extraordinary thing, and it's just really lovely.
So just to end here, Vicky, thanks for your time today, but could you just give, if you can, off the cuff, I know, kind of just a few hints and tips for people to kind of, getting their book done, just very quickly if you can, and just kind of any hints and tips you can give.
Sure. So set a deadline, make yourself accountable to somebody and say it publicly. Sell it before you've finished it, for sure, because that will give you the incentive to get it done. Write like you speak. I don't think I said that earlier, and that's really important. Write like you speak. And if the idea of actually physically writing it intimidates you, then dictate it instead. There's plenty of dictation tools out there, and you can just record it and send it to somebody to transcribe. If writing you frightens you, just speak it. Plan it properly. Planning is key. So outline it. Write down your 10 biggest tips your 10 biggest messages that you want to share with people, and then write a bunch of bullet points for each one, and then flesh it out, and suddenly you've got a book. Use it once you've got it. Use it to sell yourself, sell your business, put your personality into it, use it to grow your business and to set yourself as the expert. And I think probably my biggest piece of advice is just get on with it. Just do it.
Just get it done. Just get it done. And if you want a copy of as we spoke about, so Practice What We Preach, hey Vicky, there will be a link underneath the webinar for this as well. But the actual, the main link to kind of get the free, the free actual side is Business for Superheroes /free preview chapter. But like I say, there will be an actual link at the bottom. So, Vicky, I know just to let everyone know, we had a few issues at the start, which is always me, with technical stuff. Thank you ever so much for your time. Enjoy your holiday, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Bill. I will enjoy my holiday. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.